Okay, all right, thank you. um, just to let you know before anything, the um, the session on Tuesday I already posted on the YouTube channel. I kind of added a little bit, cut a little bit from the beginning at the end, which is unrelated to that. But that session is mostly about pointer, about memory, address, and reference, and things like that. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit. Some of you might be surprised that you didn't see me posted lecture number 4. The thing is that I optimistically thought I can actually get it done last Tuesday. Which 2 days ago, but it didn't happen. And yesterday and today, I was involved in a government meeting, which I cannot tell you because they said I cannot say, which meeting I participate. So yesterday and today, until it just finished a couple hours ago, I'm done with that. So I didn't have time to actually record my lecture 4. So I'm going to do that tomorrow, and after that, then you will be able to catch up with the lecture. I also release homework assignment number 2, which I'm still testing some of the server. I'm still testing the tar file that I mentioned in the homework assignment number 2. It hasn't been uploaded because I want to make sure that I did enough testing. I expect later today it will be uploaded, homework assignment number 2. And the other thing which we should be thinking, I haven't decided. I guess we're going to continue to use Zoom, but apparently there is. Oh, by the way, I just saw the chat. Yes, I will provide. Let me tell you that what video I'm going to provide. Let me share my screen. I share my screen. Okay, so I want to share you the screen. So there is a few video I'm going to provide to you that, of course, the lecture 004 and beyond, I'm working on that right now, 4 and 5. And I'm going to show you a demo video for homework assignment number 2, so you can see that. And then I will have 2 more pieces of video, which is shorter. They're both related to homework assignment number 2. One is about network protocol, a simple one. So this gives you a very, very simple introduction to internet protocol and something called NAT, network address translation, which give you enough information so you understand better about homework assignment number 2. And also the other thing, which is also related, is I will have another introduction to GPS location. GPS location, you don't really need the detail, but it will give you some perspective when you perform homework assignment number 2. Okay, I mean, for example, I'll probably use a video to do that. I mean, for example, I will be talking about the what they call the GPS DD representation. Basically, it's called decimal degree. It's basically telling you it's a 2 number. I just give you an example that you can, if you see something like that, I don't know if you saw something before. Let me see, where's that DD represent? Oh, okay. For example, if you see a 2 number like this, one is a positive number, one's a negative number, that is the what we call the DD representation. You can see that on Google Map. And basically there's a 1 represent the positive number is the latitude, the negative number is longitude. And then remember that for homework assignment number 1, you're getting the IP address. And then if you enter your IP address into, for example, this is one of the student, I believe, using the CSIM machine. If you enter the CSIM machine, if you say lookup, and then you will see this number. That's the DD format. That's the what we call the decimal representation of the latitude and longitude. Okay, that's actually what I'm asking you to provide for homework assignment number 2. So I'm going to have some about GPS location and API information. In fact, when you do this experiment, you realize that a lot of information about yourself has been given up when you even contact a server, because when you contact a server, you have to give away your IP address. And that IP address using this type of service, the IP address lookup, you can actually find out where that is. That's basically the world is going to. Okay, of course, your smartphone provide even more precise information about where you are, and which is causing a lot of convenience as well as concern that we have. So talk about privacy, that we have some interesting situation happen this week. I don't know if you know, Google just announced that they were going to ban using Zoom within their company. So let me actually just pull out the news I just have here. Yeah, I believe it's here. Okay, this is the news that's actually just been posted. So there have been some cybersecurity concern about Zoom. They allow people to do some kind of they call Zoom bomb. They can hijack the session, like what we're doing right now using Zoom, and potentially an attacker can come in to inject their content. Okay, so that is something which is I guess we're still using Zoom for our class until one day we realize that somebody attack us, then we have to switch to something else. Okay, but I will give you an update later. But there's a related news also just a few days ago that the former CSO, which is the Chief Security Officer, Alex Stamos, he is joining Zoom to help them to take care of the problem. So the whole world is using Zoom, but on the other hand, the hackers also under, the attacker are also under, try to gain some control over this platform. So we're enjoying, but we have to be careful. Okay, just let you know. All right, so this is the video I'm going to provide. And also, let me see. I forgot what other things I want to say. By the way, is there any question at this moment from anybody? Hello, are you still there?
Yes, no questions for me.
Okay, all right, thank you. Because it's just, I was worried for a second, maybe because I talk about security issue and hacker in Zoom, and I have been being watched or being attacked. I don't know.
Could you go over homework 2 a little bit more in depth?
Okay, sure. I will give another whole video dedicated to homework 2, just like I did for homework 1. But I'm going to just use Microsoft Word file to talk about homework 2. Okay. So homework 2, you're going to, let me move my window a little bit here, move this things a little bit there. Okay. Can you see my screen sharing homework assignment number 2? Okay. You don't have to turn on your video, but you can just do raise your hand option. That will be fine. Okay. All right. So homework assignment number 2 has 2 parts. Okay. I'm going to talk about first part 1, then I'm going to talk about part 2. All right. So within part 1, what we're doing is that we want you to get a virtual ID. We want to give you a virtual ID. So from now on, for all the submitted homework, you will be no longer using your student ID. You are using a virtual ID we assign to you. So which means that you're going to request that. So we're asking you to write a program to make that request. And that program is going to be, looks like this format. Okay, so I'm going to, let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see on the screen. Okay, so this is the program. Let me just, okay, make it a little bit nicer here. Okay, so this is the line you're going to do to for homework assignment number 2. Sorry, homework assignment number 2 for the first part. And the first part, it looks, when you look at this, is really similar to your homework assignment number 1. Therefore, I was saying that you can possibly use your homework assignment number 1. Remember, in homework assignment number 1, you have this program called socket client _ h1.c. And you can, based on that program, make some very simple modification, and you will be able to do this part, okay? All right, so the thing is that what you need to do is that you need to have this program and then try to execute this way, okay? And when you do this, you realize the first 2 parameters, just like your homework assignment number 1, is the IP address of the server. This is the IP address, the same IP address you will be using. That's the server for Cyrus. But the second number, which is the port number, last time I used 95616. But this time I'm using 95618. Okay, so there is a difference. The last digit is different. Let me just highlight this digit. This digit is different because we're using a different port number for different homework. All right, so this one is 95618. And then the third part is a JSON. It's a JSON. It's a JavaScript object notation representation of the information. So one JSON, you're going to send that JSON, the entire JSON, to the server that's in homework assignment number 2. Okay, so then the following detail is try to explain what that JSON will be, but I will stop here to just ask you any question up to this point. All right, I will continue. Okay, so this JSON has the following. So this portion is try to define the JSON. Okay, try to define the JSON. So it will take 9 different key attribute pair, key value pairs in this JSON. So the first is the action. The first one is action. The action, then the value is ECF36 homework 2. Okay. The second element is your student ID. This is hopefully this is the last time you will be using this ID this quarter, all right, at least for homework assignment, all right. So by the way, I don't want to see this ID after homework assignment number 2, because if I saw that ID, that means your privacy or your confidentiality is probably being compromised, all right? So this is the last time I'm going to see this is SID. You're going to put your student ID 9 digits here, okay? And then you're going to provide me an avatar name, okay? This name is you can pick. You can call yourself John Smith. You can call yourself Lion King. You can call yourself whatever name you like, but just make sure that this name will be less than 32 character, okay? You cannot have a name that's actually longer than 32 character. I mean, I will check. When I receive this JSON, I will check whether the name you requested has more than 32 character. If you have a more than 32 character, you won't get a successful response from the server. Okay, so that's the name you pick, okay? You pick the name, and later I'm going to use that name for the subsequent homework. Okay, basically after this homework, I want you to know, don't use your real name, your real ID, but we're going to use virtual ID and avatar as a name. Okay, And then you're going to provide a code. And what's the code? It's just a test. Because remember, this is the JSON you received from homework assignment number 1. And I didn't tell you that you actually have a code. The last one, I never explained to you what it is. It was a randomly generated code that I generate. And it's a form of a weak authentication, but I want you to actually use that code to put in here. Okay, you put this code over here as part of JSON. And that is what I want to just check, that whether this is really from my student, because if it's really from my student, then I know this ID in the past has a code that's actually matching to that. Then I validate that this is indeed from you, it's not from some hacker and try to get a virtual ID of this student, okay? This is just another security check, all right? So then the thing is that then the source IP address. The source IP address means that which IP address you were using to submit your homework assignment number 1. So in this case, this source IP address will be from here, from this homework 1 JSON, which is IP address of this one. By the way, if you lost this one, I hope you still keep it, because this is something you should keep it for your at the part of your submission for homework assignment number 1. But for some reason you lost it, just let me know. I mean, I have the whole database and log. I can actually send this back to you, okay? And of course, security. But basically, this is the IP address that you use for homework assignment number 1, all right? And then this 2 is the latitude and longitude, right? This is your latitude and longitude. Okay, how do you get that? Remember, I talked about the GPS format, and I will provide another video to describe that. Here, I'm just giving you a very simple demonstration how that will work. So this is the IP address I use to submit my own homework assignment number 1. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to this service. I will share with you what the service looks like. You can see that you can write a piece of program to actually do it programmably, but I'm not going to ask you to do programmably. I'm going to ask you to do manually, okay? So I can do a lookup on that IP address. This is the site is called IP2 location, all right? And IP2 location is a software, also have API. It has a free database, which I just download. It's about 340 megabytes of address and location mapping. So any IP address, I'll be able to map where you are. All right, so I'm going to enter this IP address. And now the data come back to me. And this is the latitude, okay? So I just copy and paste into for homework assignment number for this value, the latitude portion of the GPS from homework address number 1. Okay, and that's the latitude, and this is the what we call the longitude. Okay, so that's the second one. So those 2 numbers help me to uniquely identify where you are. So basically the concept looks like this. I will explain to you in a separate lecture, but this is a good website for you to understand the format between DD and DMS. So DMS give you 3 values. It basically look at the latitude and longitude, but if you remember latitude, if you just look at that, it only give you certain line. There's 2 lines, but then, I mean, anything in between is going to be adding that extra value. So that's why you have, this is called DMS. This is called DMS notation. DMS notation stands for degree, minutes, and seconds. So means that from that line, how many minutes and how many seconds that you're going to toward exactly where you are. where the DMM format, not DMM actually, is we're using decimal degree format. DD format is the simplest one because I translate that into a double number, a floating point for the same address using just two. And in fact, this is the Google map that you can have. I mean, for example, let me just go to Google Map, tell you what it looks like. No, I'm going to just hold down this one. Can I not have this one? Sorry. To move. Okay. I want to go here. Map. Let me just do a maps here. So if I go to Google Map, okay, this is where I am. Not this one. Sorry. Okay, so this is my Google Map is over here, right? And they already recognize where I am. So for example, I can just click here. And if you click anywhere from the Google Map, if you say what's here, you use the third option, what's here, and you see here in the button, it will show Yolo County, California, and then this is the DD format. This is the latitude, this is my longitude, okay? These two numbers represent. So any IP address you add it in. So I'm guessing that this one is 38 something, this is minus 121. So I want to go back to this and tell you that, oh, not this one. Okay. How do I actually move it? Nah. Sorry. I want to move this here. So earlier, I was looking at this IP address because this is a CSIF machine. It should show some IP address, which is not too far away from here. Yeah, you see this GPS location is not too much different from my current location, the 38.7 and 121. So this is fairly close to my current location, 38.5 and minus 121.69. Okay, so that kind of gives you some idea about the location. All right, so any question up to this point from anybody? Okay, you're good? All right, so I'm going to continue. So this JSON has latitude and longitude to you use the service I just showed you to construct the JSON that's actually including those two number that to give you the GPS under the DD format. And there is another thing, this one might be confusing. That's why I need to talk about a little bit about network protocol, is that this IP address is the IP address you use to submit your homework one. But remember I asked you to use ifconfig-a to look at your own IP address. So if you're using CSIF machine, then this address and this address, the source IP and ifconfig source IP, those two addresses should be the same. But if you're using, say you stay at home or doing something else, that you will realize that this IP address could be different from this one. And when these two IP addresses are different, then you are actually behind something called network address translation box, net box, and which I just want you to tell me whether you believe by looking at this information that you are behind the box or after the box. Because if you enter an IP address that's actually behind the net, then your IP address, your address doesn't give you the locality. Let me give you an example why I say that. So when I use my local address, my address is 192.168.1.8. This is the address I have. If I do a lookup, it didn't give me anything. You see that? It's basically, it says this is a private address LAN. It's not a public address. Therefore, it's a private address. It doesn't have any coordination information. Okay, so basically, if you're using a address that's a net address, which you do the same thing, you realize, then you can actually check on those two addresses, and then you know whether you're actually behind the net or not. Okay, so this is kind of ask you to construct this token. This will be supporting the future homework assignment, just to let you know. But this also start to give you some idea about how network work and how to use the information appropriately. Which is why I said I'm going to have, besides homework assignment number 2, I'm going to provide a brief introduction to NET as well as the GPS location and API, okay? And for homework assignment number 3, you will need to learn JSON API as well. So I'm going to postpone that until early next week. You will receive your homework assignment number 3. Okay, so if you have this, you submit this using this program. So in some sense, that this program it should be really, really similar to homework assignment number 1, except you're not sending your just 9 character as a student ID, but instead you try to send the whole JSON through this program. You try to send the whole thing. Okay, with, of course, the key, which is here, the first part of the JSON is the key, and the second part is the value, and the value is according to this. And if you send it correctly, then you will receive a JSON, just like you receive a JSON for homework assignment number 1. Now you're going to receive a different JSON for homework assignment number 2. So the JSON I'm going to send back to you, I'm going to send you the status is successful. It's a successful, great. If it's not successful, you will see why it's not successful. And then I will starting not using your name, real name anymore. So when I say name, I really mean the avatar name you gave it to me. And I'm going to use the virtual ID. So this is the first time you actually receive this ID from the program, okay? So this is the program that it's going to send you your virtual ID, and which means that this JSON you should remember. Okay, this JSON you should actually keep it, because this is the ID you're going to use to communicate to do the rest of the homework, okay, through the online. Okay, and then I'm going to actually tell you from, which is, okay, what is the location I can derive from you regarding your first homework assignment. So remember, you send me the source IP address. So I'm actually going to tell you where you were when you submit the homework assignment number 1, just based on the IP address you let me know. Okay, I mean, I just want to tell you that we're not going to give you a very horrible detail, say you're exactly there, but what I'm going to give you is this information. Let me just go to my terminal to show you what you will receive, something like that. So let me tell you how I decide the IP address. Can I have a window? Okay, I'm going to quit. No, that's not good. Okay, I'm going to use this one. To use IP location. Yeah. So if you look at this is the file. Oh, I have to go into that. Okay, so you can see that this is your IP address. So IP address, the format that you see is, it looks like something looks like this. This is IP address, right? It looks like it has 4 numbers separated by 3 dots. So this is the common way for us to represent IP address. But in fact, the IP address in each of this number, each of them is from 0 to 255. So this number, if you look at, this is called IPv4, version 4 number, which every one of this must be from 0 to 255. And how many bits of number, binary representation of 0 to 255? How many bits? 8 bits, right? So if you think about that, this is a 4 8-bits number. So 8 bits, 8 bits, 8 bit, 8 bits. So IPv4, the IP address is 32-bit because 4 times 8 is 32. So essentially, one way to read the IP address is look at this nice string separated by 4 number, but also you can actually represent as a single integer of a 32-bit integer, and usually it's an unsigned integer. So you can see that this is an unsigned integer. It basically say from 0 to this number, that means that this is a private address and you shouldn't have it. But if you have a 32 address from here to here, then this is actually from US, United States, USA, in California, in Los Angeles. And this IP address, this is the DD format of their location, which is 34 something and minus 118. Okay, so essentially I have a table of every single section of the IP address from here to here. This is actually in China. Interesting, Fuzhou. So this is it's not nailed down to the like exactly street level, but it's actually giving you until maybe the city level. Okay, so you can see that this. Oh, let me go here. So you have all the table. So what I'm going to do is, how do I actually determine this number? Sorry, how do I actually determine your homework 1 location? I'm actually going to just check on table based on your IP address, convert that into 32-bit integer, and do a table lookup to see which range you're in, and then tell you what the database know about you. All right, so that's this particular things is going to get back to you. But this was your homework assignment number 1, right? But then you might use 2 different machines to do your submission. First time you use CSIF. The second time you use your own machine, and maybe you travel to the other part of the world, and then you have another IP address you use to submit, right? And then that address, I'm also going to do a lookup. So you say, well, what's your current location? So one is, what's your homework 1 submitted location? What's your current location? I will send both back to you. So you have a record about what's going on. Okay, so this is just for your information, but subsequently for the homework that you will be controlling this information to do something else. Okay. All right, so that is essentially homework assignment number 2, part 1. It's very similar to homework assignment number 1, but it has a more complicated interface in terms of information being transferred between your submitting machine and the server that's actually being interacting with you. Okay, any question for part 1 of homework assignment number 2? Okay, so okay, I'm going to move on to this one. So now I'm going to do homework assignment number 2. So homework assignment number 2 is that we have essentially five program file and then 1 make file. So there is one file called person.h, person.cpp. There's a transaction.h, transaction.cpp. And then you have another file, which I call the driver or test program, which is the ECF36. Oh, I forgot this. You should have a B. Okay. ECF36B _ H homework2.cpp, and then you have a make file. Okay. So I'm going to provide you I'm actually going to provide you all 6 files, but there are 2 files that's not complete. So person.h, will be complete, which basically define the class, the interface, what's public, what's private. And the transaction also, I give you what's the class definition, what's public, what's private. So those are the file you're going to include for person and transaction.h. And the ECF36B HW2.cpp is a file that's going to use these two classes or object, which is one is a person object, one is a transaction object. But I only give you the interface. Is your job for homework assignment number 2 to finish all the member function, because essentially what you have in person.cpp and transaction.cpp will be only the member function prototype that's being declared in the .h file, but without implementation. And therefore, you need to implement those function. And after you finish this function, you use this make file, then the whole thing should link together. And then you just execute the program. This is the program that's actually going to generate when you actually use the make file. So in some sense, you're not supposed to touch this 4 file. You only need to touch person.cpp and transaction.cpp, and then you can compile together, and then you just run this program. You just run this program called EC36B _HW2 testing. The first argument you need to provide is your virtual ID that you just received from part 1. And then you provide your avatar name. You just provide this two, you go in there, and then basically the program will display whether it's success or not. Okay, so I will actually show you the log file, because this program will also contact the server as well for homework assignment number 2. And it will actually check whether you implement the person.cpp and transaction.cpp correctly. If it check is correct, it will actually send it using your virtual ID and avatar name to log in our server on Cyrus, and then tell you you have successfully passed the test, which means that your part 2, your homework assignment is done for the correctness part. But if it failed, it will tell you that it didn't work and provide you some information. Then you're going to display. But you don't need to worry about any of the detail, like what IP address you use, what port number to use, because we already encode everything into this program that you just use it, the test program, okay? And the other thing is, after you're done with this, now I'm actually absolutely clear about the hand-in, because I actually finally got the account. I actually tested the hand-in directory correctly. So what you need to do is that you need to, if you haven't done so, you need to create a directory for ECF36B _S2020, and you change into that directory, and you create a subdirectory called homework assignment number 2, okay? And you also change your directory to homework assignment number 2. And then you actually copy this 2 file. This is the only 2 file you need to hand in for homework assignment number 2 is person.cpp and transaction.cpp. So you copy this 2 file to the homework assignment number 2. Homework assignment number 2, yes. And then you go up to the higher directory, the parent directory of homework assignment number 2. So that's why you're cd ... And then what you need to do, you need to run this command, tar zcvf homework2 _submission.tar.gz. And then the force parameter argument is HW2. So if you execute this name, you're going to obtain this file. You're going to obtain this file. HW2 _submission.tar.gz. Once you have this file, this is the line you need to do. Okay, this is exactly the line you need to do in order to do the hand-in. You say hand-in CS36B HW2, hw2_submission.tar.gz. If you do this, then you finish your part with homework assignment number 2. Okay?
Just a question.
Sure, go ahead.
So for handing in the homework number 1, like I believe I did send you a mail about this yesterday, and yeah, so I didn't hand it in that way. Like I send it up to an account SFW Woo account. Yeah. Then what should I do about it if this is the right way to do it?
Don't worry, because for homework assignment number 1, I'm actually going to give you a grade based on the log file.
Based on the log.
Because I log because remember, for your handing for homework assignment number 1, you need to get a JSON, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that JSON is actually in my log.
Oh, okay. So that I accessed it, like, yeah.
Right.
So the accessing of the those information is in your log.
Right. I basically keep all of them. So the TA is going to grab automatically for all the student ID, use all the student ID, grab it from there. And if you have a record, you're there. And I will talk to TA. I haven't talked to TA about this yet, but we will do that very soon. So then you will see your grade.
Because it was so confusing. Like I didn't know. I looked through the CSIF document of Handin, and then it told me to user, I needed to provide it a username, and I didn't know it was CS36B up until now. I just typed SFW, and then it had a lot of directories, and I saw homework 1, and so I just sent it off to there. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's a mess, and at the handing, I'm sorry about the confusion situation because I couldn't get my credential to CS36B, which is the account that's allowed not just the instructor but also the TA can directly access. But now, starting from homework assignment number 2, I will give a very specific direction. Looks like this. Then after homework assignment number 2, that this will be the way to go.
All right. Okay. The norm. Okay.
Thank
you. So the previous homework 1 is just going to be based on the log,
right.
Mostly. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if anybody have any question about homework assignment number 1 about after the grading come out, just let me know. Okay. We will, because I keep a lot of log about what has happened in the server. Just like any company want to run the IT service, they have to keep a lot of log. So we will be able to resolve a lot of problem with log. Okay. I mean, same thing for the rest of homework as well. Any other question about homework assignment number 2 or anything you'd like to ask related to ECF36B?
I'm a little curious as to what the differences between C and C++ writing programs specifically, because I see that when you're writing C++ programs, you use this use a different notation with 2 colons as an operator to kind of put out a print statement, versus in C we use printf. Can you go over little differences that'll be hiccups when we're writing in C++?
Okay, let me see if I can do this. All right. Okay, I will use this as an example. So okay, by the way, I want to ask you, I don't know if you caught this from my homework, my lecture number 3. Anyone have played or heard about this game called Animal Crossing? Anybody heard about this game, Animal Crossing?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right. Anybody is a player of Animal Crossing?
Hell yeah.
Oh my God.
Not
Yes.
me. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know there's a lot of hype, but I'm not it.
Okay. Okay, you see that directory?
Can't find the switch.
Okay, I start to play. I start to build my own Animal Crossing game. Okay, so I have something called avatar. All right. So in my avatar, I just say, okay. You can see that I'm just saying my GPS, my name, island, and the class island. I start to play around with this. Okay. I just want to show you my test program. And then I want to lead to that question because this is a program I played recently. So what I did is this is a very simple test program about the avatar. And you can see that I create a character avatar. I call the first avatar. I call a list, and I give a GPS location 777, which is it's a different GPS system that I created. But don't worry about this. But you see, I use this STD cout, right? Location. This is the question you're asking, right? What I did here is just standard output location of this. Okay, so this is called IO string in C++. This is C++, whatever, the first author of C++ in 1980. They're so proud of this, and they use this as a printf, right? I mean, in C++, you can still use printf, but let me actually show you the difference about this two. Okay, let me write this program differently. I do printf. Okay, maybe I do even, okay, I will do printf, that's fine. And then I would go to do location off, right? But here, the next one, I want to get a name, right? I want to get a name. I know it's a string. So you have to put %s, right? And then this one is actually an integer. So it's a %d, right? And then this is essentially a new line, so I put a -n. And then I have to copy this part here. That's too much. And then I copy this line here. Okay, so this two line I put here, they are identical. Okay, one is using this way, one is using this way. They're identical, but this is a C convention. And this is C++. And this has been this way since the first C++ program I wrote in 1987. It's the same. And the only difference, I mean, to be honest, until today, I still prefer using printf myself because I get used to it. But the thing is that the things they try to avoid is this what we call format string. This is called format string. You put %s, you put %d. You have to know that. You have to know it's a programmer's job to know to provide the right format string matching with the type that's actually going to be filled in to that format string. But in the C++ way, they say, wait a minute, I want to just helping programmer to make this kind of mistake. And you just provide this way. It's two smaller than sign. And then you basically fit this into this C.out. So this is called IO string. Essentially, you put all of them into that standard cout. Okay, so that's the only difference. Does that answer your question?
That does. And my last question is just, I noticed when you had a constructor when you were making I think it was homework or video number 3. But you had also a constructor without any arguments in it. What exactly is the purpose of that constructor?
Okay, I just want to give you an example. Let me use, since I'm here, I'm using avatar, right? So you see that my avatar, I have two constructor. Okay, so one avatar, the one constructor is taking two parameter, which means that I actually give you have to provide a name and you have to provide a GPS location, right? So you provide two parameter, and then I just store the name into the name here. I store the GPS over here, right? So that's I have a two. But this is what we call a default constructor, means that you don't provide anything as a parameter. So it's a design. You don't have to do it this way. But over here, in this case, I said, well, if somebody just want to quick and dirty create an avatar without providing a name, then I will just give a default name. So my default name over here is anonymous. And then the GPS location, I just put in somewhere maybe. Oh, what did I do? That's so bad. I didn't know I can do this in Emacs. That's not good. What did I do?
You copied the avatar, the blank constructor over to the next line. So if you just delete from where you are on that cursor to the end, you're back to where you were.
But then I have to put it back here, right? No, you know what? I
think you deleted the wrong end of what, I think you deleted what you needed to keep.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll delete the anonymous. You see how there's two anonymouses lined up, right? Like
yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Wait a minute. This should be here, right? This should be here, and this one should be deleted. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, I mean, this is not going to crash anything. It's just going to crash my version of Animal Crossing. All right. So I just want to tell you that this is interesting since we're looking at this program. I feel a lot of this kind of video game, virtual world, if you think about that, it's just object-oriented. You just define a bunch of classes and objects, and then essentially then you build their interface, then you can have a really interesting game, whatever you want to simulate or emulate. Okay. But that is the reason that we just want to have a what we call it's an avatar, doesn't take any argument. Yeah, like that. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other question?
Can you explain what's the STD?
Sorry, can you say that again? I kind of missed your question.
Can you explain what's the STD, comma?
Where is that? In this screen or in somewhere else?
Oh, it's in this screen. Like the private part, STD, comma, string my name.
Oh, STD, comma. Okay, this STD is a scope. This is a scope character. So which means that, I mean, for example, I just give you example. I might be able to define another class called string. I mean, let me give you example. Let me actually make sure my program can compile. Then I can tell you what G++ is equal to C++ 17 main.cpp minus OA. No, this is, now I have an error. I want to see what happened. Oh, I was using that printf. They have some problem with that. Let me see. Okay, I think I'm going to do this. Before I answer your question, I will do this. Let me see if this will work. I'm going to provide a casting. Okay, I'm going to do a casting. And I will compile. Well, it still doesn't work. Cannot cast. Let me see. How do I? Hold on 1 second. I've never done this before, so I'm going to C++, convert to character star. I will do this first and then answer your question because I never tried that. So I want to see, okay, to string, okay. Okay, I have to use C string. Okay, I got it. C string. Okay, fine. C underscore str. Fine. It just doesn't allow me to cast, but allow me to do something else. So I'm going to get rid of this and .cstr, right? Okay, so whoever asked me earlier about the printf, now you know is %s. You have to do this and then .c string, okay, to generate that string. And then I'm going to compile this code. So now this time it works. Okay, you can see the first line, the second line, they generate exactly the same output. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to answer the second question is about why I have this std, right? In std colon in front of the string name. So the thing is that this std colon represent that this is under the standard library. So for example, std cout is a standard library. That's a C++. And similar, if I use std ... that means colon, that means this string is actually from the standard library. So which means that I can actually define a class string here. I can define my own string, and over here I can actually just quickly develop something. So private and public. Okay, so private, I can just say inside my private, I'm actually going to do I'm actually going to do a std string xyz, and I'm going to provide a public function. I think I just use this as std string s, and then I will say xyz is equal to s. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say, if you do a get s, if I do a get s, wait a minute, what do I say? Yeah, I would say get s. Then I'm going to give you character star get str, but inside here I'm going to return xyz dot cstr like this. Okay, I'm going to write the code, looks like this. All right, so you can see the reason I want to define this is basically I can define my own string, but it's a different scope, it's local scope. So therefore, when I run this program, do I have all the things I need? Okay, fine. When I compile this program, can it compile? Wait a minute, why do I have this problem? Did I make some mistake? I didn't say anything about constant, right? STD, why this will have some trouble? Huh. Can I do this then? Can I do this? No. Okay. So there was something I messed up here. Don't worry about my example, but I have to clean up my string issue to get this compiled. But what I'm saying is that you can actually define a class that with the same name, but it's a different scope, and therefore I have to put std : to say this is not your string, but this is actually copy it from the standard library, and that's my short answer to your question. Is that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
But for the language C, we usually put like include standard class at front of the program.
Yeah.
And then we don't need to do the std column string thing.
For what? Say it again. What you don't need to do std?
For C.
For C, you don't do that. Yeah, because in C you usually start with in C you usually started with this two statement: include std io.h, and the other one is std lib.h, right? You include this two lines. Essentially, C is saying that you cannot have another string to be defined. You can only have a one. That's actually from the standard.
So for C++, we can do that. So we need to put std to distinguish that.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we use namespace std in our code?
Yes, you can use name. Yeah, that's another way. You can just do namespace.
It's using namespace std.
Right. You can just use namespace std. And I think if you define this, it will be okay as well. Means that everything here, just like the way C is doing. So if you use namespace std, then you don't need to do std here. You can just do like this. It's the same. Yeah.
Wait, so if we do that, how do we distinguish between the local string class and the one in the
if you use namespace std, then you cannot have the local class string. You kind of give up that option. At least in this file, you cannot have that, because they can only have a one string. It will say you try to duplicate define. No, maybe let's try to do that. Okay, let's try to do this. Let me do something very quickly. So I had that issue, right? Okay. If I do this, let me first get rid of namespace std. Okay, let's try to first get rid of this namespace std. And let me try to compile again. Yeah, it will compile, right? So I have both class string and also here. So let's actually try to include this namespace std. If I do this, yeah, you see, it actually, sorry, no.
You have to put using in front. So it's using namespace std. The syntax.
Yeah. Okay. What's the semicolon?
Yes, yes. So it's using USING namespace std.
Using
Yes,
namespace
correct.
std, like this, right?
Yes.
Thank you. You can tell I hardly ever done that. Oh, it still allowed me to compile. That's interesting. That's interesting. I can still compile, I guess. But then what is the difference? Let me see. Okay, I know what happened. What happened if I don't have this one? And I don't have this one. Yeah, now it's actually it doesn't allow me to define that anymore. Okay, because if I use using namespace std, right? And if I get rid of this part, would that be okay? Yeah, then it will be okay. So basically you're using std. I don't have to do this in my program. But on the other hand, if you want to define your own class string, you need to be careful, because apparently you're not accessing your own string. It's basically sometimes referred to your own class string, sometimes referred to std string. So it's a bit uncertain there.
Dr. Wu, is there the option to do include in C++ as well?
Yeah, of course, you can do include C++. In fact, if you look at my main.cpp, I actually have a two include statement at the beginning. One is include IO string, one is include avatar.h. Yeah, you still have that part is the same.
Why did you contrast having the include statement with the std library in C as opposed to writing std : string in C++?
Oh, why don't
Why did you draw that contrast? Like would you do one over the other, or can you do them both at the same time?
Let me try to understand your question. The reason is that if you want to do C programming, it's better for you to include those two lines to avoid a lot of warning. In C, in fact, if you don't put those two lines, your program will still compile, still generate executable. But if you turn on the what you call the let me see if I can do something here very quickly in C. Let me just show you the difference. Let me write the C program very quickly. Integer. Okay, if I do this, return 0. If I do gcc minus wall a.c, would I get warning? Yeah, you see that I got a warning. I said I implicit declare function printf with the type of this. okay, with a GCC compiler, but my program still work. It still work. It still print hello world. But
yeah.
if I get rid of this one, if I do this, if I do this, I think just by itself, this one should take care of this already. Then I get no warning. Okay, so this is just
Okay.
in C way you can actually declare those two lines to essentially to be clearly defined that how the compiler option, but ultimately compilers still need to link to the right code, and in this case the compiler does found out there's only one printf you can link to, so there's no problem, you can link to that. But in C++, the story is a little bit different, because in C++, you actually could have linking to different code, because, for example, constructor, you can have multiple. And therefore, which one you will be linking to, sometime depending on the type, depending on how you declare things correctly. So I would say C++, things might be a little bit more sensitive in terms of matching the type. All right, so does that kind of answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, hi, Professor.
Sure.
I came in a little bit late. Can I double check with when will the lecture 4 and homework 2 demo video? If we have,
I'm going to record it tomorrow.
Okay, gotcha.
Maybe tonight or tomorrow I'm going to record it, and I would say tomorrow, late tomorrow, or even, I mean, because sometimes I upload to YouTube, it will take a while depending on how large the file, and usually the processing takes a while. So I would say late tomorrow, you should be able to get it from my channel.
Okay.
And I will announce that as well.
Okay. Oh, and the homework 2 PDF, will that be posted on campus tomorrow too?
I already post the Microsoft Word document.
Oh, okay.
But you can this document is already up in the server. You can actually download this already.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question too.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
So on the homework 2 document, it says based on this JSON, you will now run your own homework 2 program. Like, where do we get the homework 2 JSON file? I came a little late.
This is the JSON you got from your homework assignment number 1.
Yes.
So basically, so I'm saying, okay, let me parse my own description. All right, I hope I did it right. So from homework assignment number 1, you're actually receiving this JSON, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the most critical information from this JSON is about this code, because this is a special code I assigned to different students. Every student got a different code. All right, and this code will be used for your homework assignment number 2 submission. Okay, homework assignment number 2 has 2 parts, part 1 and part 2, and this will be used for part 1 submission. So for part 1 submission, you will develop a program called ECF36B homework 2 _ client. And this program will be almost the same as homework assignment number 1's ECF36B homework 1 client. That's why I'm saying that you can actually use this program that you submit your homework assignment number 1 to actually develop this program. So this is a source code, this is executable.
So we make our own ECS36B homework 2.
Exactly. You make your own client, but I already told you that you look at this is very similar to homework assignment number 1 because you have your executable, you have your IP address, you have your port number, but the port number is a little bit different there's a difference between homework assignment 1 and number 2. And homework assignment number 1, the fourth argument that you need to put here was your student ID number. And instead of put your student ID number, I want you to put a JSON, which is you need to produce a JSON, looks like this.
Okay.
Okay. Example. This is just a template for the JSON. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Which
you.
I will show you how to do that for the homework assignment number 2 video. It's going to be like a demo type of video. Okay. Any other last minute question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I just joined the class a few days ago, and we're changing, like the lecture will be on Zoom instead of the recorded.
No, we're going to continue to do that. No, we're not going to do. Sorry, let me take it back. The lecture will be modularized. So I'm going to separate the lecture into topic and topic. Just we're doing that since the beginning of this quarter, and I will put every single lecture on YouTube, and so you can actually see it. I mean, I actually didn't get the time to produce the video for today, but it will be ready tomorrow. But I use the class time for almost like an office hour to answer a question like what we did. And I also record using Zoom to record only the office hour part. And what I usually do is that I do a little bit of editing, not a lot of editing from the Zoom recording for this because if there is any private information, I try to get rid of that. But like today, we're seeing some of the online example because I share my screen, and I will share that to everybody. Like the Tuesday, the session we have on Tuesday, I already share on my YouTube channel. So always go to my YouTube channel because there was like a video come out every few hours. So I don't have time to tell everybody that, hey, this is available, this is available. So like today's session we're doing right now, I will probably do the same. But I try to eliminate, I do a little bit of editing is that I see some part which I don't think is going to be, either they're contain some private information or that is already repeated, so I will remove that. Yeah, but all the code you see I'm typing, I'll keep those parts, okay?
Yeah, thank you, Professor. And also I joined the class late, and I think the homework 1, the server is closed. Do you know if there's a way to submit it or?
Can you try to do that right now? I actually, I think this morning I actually did the test when I tried to test homework assignment number 2. I also test homework assignment number 1, and I think it's running. You can test it if you don't see homework assignment number 1 running. Please let me know. Okay. Especially for homework, since you're here, especially for homework assignment number 2. During the entire time of homework assignment number 2 submission time, I will keep homework assignment number 1 open because I have to consider situation that one of you forget about your JSON from your homework assignment number 1. So what you can do is you can redo your homework assignment number 1, and then you get the code. Then you submit your homework assignment number 2. Okay, so it should be up all the time. All right.
Got it. Thank you,
all right.
Professor.
You're welcome. Okay, any other question?
Professor, so since homework assignment 2 is similar to assignment 1, so there will be no coding, not actual coding. We just
no, it's just part 1. So part 1, you don't have to do a lot of coding because you can use the program from homework assignment number 1, right? This is part 1. But then you go to part 2, you're going to write program.
Oh, okay.
There's a part 2 there. Part 2, basically, I'm giving you the class definition, and you have to do the implementation for those class for person and transaction CPP.
Okay, gotcha. Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
I also have one last question.
Sure, go ahead.
For homework 2, part 1, so do we need to like, are we supposed to like fill out the information to make that JSON file, or how do we?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So all we have to do is just make a JSON file and then just kind of fill in the information. Oh,
right.
All right, cool.
There's something you have to be careful though, because if you use a terminal, there is a space, right? You have a space in your JSON, and when you want to execute the program, I just want to tell you that you have to provide a backslash. I will actually show in the homework 2 video, because if you don't put the backslash on character like a space, the program will not take the whole JSON. It will take the space as a delimiter, and then it will cut off. Then you won't be successfully send that JSON. So that's one thing I want you to do about JSON encoding is you have to put that backslash into every single space. So the program, the shell will know, hey, this is not the end of the input. You have to do that. For every single space, you have to put a backslash in front of that.
All right. And to make a JSON file, is it just like the greater than, less than sign on the left and the right?
What? Yes, essentially.
Okay, thank you.
You have to do this bracket. You have to do this double quote. You have a colon. You have a comment. You have those. Oh no! This is not part of JSON. By the way, this smaller than, greater than sign is not a JSON. This is just for me to tell you that you need to do something within that. I mean, just for example, this, if you call your avatar, say Lion King, right?
Yeah.
You just replace this, say Lion King. Okay.
All right.
If that's your
thank
name.
you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
Yeah, I have a question. What are the like character rules for the avatar name?
Okay, that is, I would suggest you to use your regular letter. So I think like, it's pretty much okay. You put any kind of UU encodable character should be okay. I mean, you want to put a different language, I think is okay.
Okay. I
think it's okay because I have tested a few different language and it seems to be okay. But I want to tell you the reason I smile is I know there are certain character that the shell program won't like it. And I think once you get it into the JSON, okay, let me put it this way. You can try your string and see if the program looks okay when it return to you. Okay, because it will return back to you, right? Look at the JSON if it looks right. If it doesn't look right, try a different character. If one works, one doesn't, then you know the character, the special character is causing some difference, which is interesting things for us to learn.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. That's an excellent question, actually. Yeah, I'm already start to have the feeling you're going to choose a really, really interesting name to test out both your program and my program, right? I like that. Okay, any other question?
Professor?
Yes.
I have a question about lecture 3. So you said that 20% of the grade is also of the book's examples. So where can we find examples that we should be doing?
Okay. I forgot mention about this. I probably should update the homework assignment number 3. Is that once you get this VID, right? Once you got this VID, I'm going to have another lecture to explain that okay, this is another video I need to do. This is what I call 20% submission. Okay, I will call this submission process for those 20%. So once we have a virtual ID, then you can start using the server to do this part. So it will be another JSON. In fact, it will be another JSON that's similar to your the part 1 of your homework assignment number 1, part 1 of your homework assignment number 2, and you actually there is IP address, there is a port number, and then there's a JSON, including your virtual ID and including, say, I want to do programming, and then the server will tell you that which program you should run.
Okay, thank you.
I will provide another video to introduce that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So I think that video, I hope to make it this weekend, this coming weekend. All right, any other question? Okay, so thank you for coming today, and I will see you tomorrow. I still have my office hour tomorrow, so I will see you online tomorrow for those of you who can make it. And by the way, if you have any question or concern, for example, you feel that neither of my office hour you can make it, please let me know. Then maybe I can adjust the time. Okay. All right. Bye. Oh, I better first stop sharing. How do I stop the recording? It's already stopped. Is that right? Oh, stop recording.